Hassan, do you know who the historian Benny Morris is? Yeah. Every single day that that Israel continues its genocide, he becomes more and more unhinged. I recently watched him talk to Mehdi Hasan in front of a crowd that literally lost their minds when he said, I don't know what the term famine means. He is deeply, deeply unserious. And his former work was obviously very important in uncovering certain aspects of Israeli history, but his current attitude towards his own former work and his current attitudes towards like just being a like open, unabashed, unashamed anti-Arab racist piece is pretty crazy. He was so unhinged that he literally said, that the person responsible for, I think it was like the UN Human Rights Commission, the person leading the UN Human Rights Commission was a Syrian, and therefore you can't trust an Arab, you can't trust a Syrian with that responsibility. Like, it's crazy. Like, he literally said that as like an own. He said Israeli occupation hasn't bombed any hospitals in Gaza, earning laughs of disbelief from the audience. Here, this is Benny Morris.
For arrest warrants, not just for Hamas leaders, but for the Israeli Prime Minister and the Defense Minister for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And he says he has mountains of evidence. We've all seen with our own eyes the Israelis in Gaza commit war crimes on camera, kill unarmed people who are carrying white flags, blow up apartment buildings, drop 2,000-pound bombs on crowded refugee camps. Can we at least agree, Benny, even if we're going to disagree on genocide, that Israel has committed numerous war crimes since the Hamas war crimes on October the 7th?
I'm fairly sure there have been war crimes. But the war itself is not a war crime, as the Hamas attack on Israel on the 7th of October was. It was a war crime from beginning to end. The aim was to kill as many civilians as possible, which they did, in accordance with the Hamas Charter, which is to kill basically every Jew you can get hold of in Palestine.
But I didn't ask about the aim. I asked about the acts that are being committed.
As I said, probably there have been, as in all wars, war crimes.
You accept there have been war crimes?
Yes.
So you would support an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu?
I didn't say that.
Why?
Firstly, there hasn't been an arrest warrant.
I know, there's been a request from the ICC chief prosecutor.
So far, they haven't issued it. I don't know if you can hold a prime minister responsible if a sergeant kills several unarmed people intentionally.
You don't think the Israeli Air Force bombing apartment buildings, refugee camps, mosques, cemeteries?
I like the idea that like all of this stuff just randomly happens, you know what I mean? And that the ICC and the ICJ aren't like conducting a broad, thorough, albeit still probably heavily influenced by Western interests, analysis on the matter before coming to certain conclusions. They're not hysterical college campus activists in the way that these guys try to present them, okay? Like, they're conducting serious investigations, man. Serious investigations that the Mossad and the Israeli government regularly try to thwart, mind you. Like, there is obviously a line from the prime minister all the way down to the soldier committing the crime, and it's a thing that they are choosing to it's a thorough line that they're choosing to investigate. Like, they're actually saying, like, this exists, this connection exists.
Hospitals, schools, universities, libraries.
Firstly, it hasn't bombed, as far as I know, hospitals. They have attacked.
Literally no expert agrees with you on that.
That's not true. What you're saying is not true.
You'll watch this, but won't watch Mehdi and Victor Gao on China? Yeah, of course I'm not going to watch it. It is not because it's against the narrative. It's because I like Mehdi Hasan, and I don't like him behaving like a Western chauvinist when talking to a Chinese official, and that it's more so to preserve his legacy in my mind. And yeah, of course I'm not going to watch some random coverage of Mehdi Hasan like talking to a Chinese official in the midst of like ongoing genocide. This is obviously directly relevant. I wouldn't have even brought this up if a chatter didn't bring the Benny Morris subject matter up. What the f does China have to do with anything? Yes, this is the same like Mao guy. You already said you won't ever watch it even if it was on topic. Yes, and it is not because of oh my God. I don't give a f Victor Gao and how well he defends China or whatever, okay? It is more so, in my mind, to preserve my opinion of Mehdi Hasan. Okay, that's it. I like Mehdi Hasan, but there are plenty of instances where I have been at odds with him in terms of, for example, how he also, in my opinion, highlighted false smears against Jeremy Corbyn being anti-Semitic and shit like that. He's doing a great job with this issue, okay? But you don't have to always agree with everything that a political commentator says. You should practice that sometimes with me as well. You might not agree with all of the things that I believe, all the things that I say, but that shouldn't change your overall worldview on who I am as a person. The conduct is not rewarded the IDF for military rescue operations. Oh yeah, the conduct is to not reward the IDF for military rescue operations. As far as I remember, they've done it a few times before, sometimes just when the building is being bombed and they think an operation is coming, even when it wasn't. I think it's wrong. It's definitely brutal, but I'm not sure what any dumb who thinks about military pressure thinks this would happen in this kind of situation. Yeah, and the alternative to that is not to say like, oh, I can't believe how these guys did this, like how crazy of them. The alternative to that is already presented in the form of a ceasefire. So that's the whole point. This is just another pressure mechanism for Israel to actually come to terms with the ceasefire. That's what it is. Because it's not like if they were on the one hand, if Hamas was on the one hand being like, yeah, we don't want a ceasefire, we just want to kill these people, and then Israel was conducting this military operation, then yeah, that makes sense. That it's perfectly understandable to be like, oh, what the these guys are psychotic. Except obviously if ceasefire's on the table and those hostages are named, okay, like by name, they're like, these are some of the hostages that we are going to release in the first ceasefire negotiations, and Benjamin Netanyahu's like, nah dog, I don't give a I want to maintain military presence in the Philadelphia corridor, in the Netzarim corridor. We're going to do a permanent occupation. I don't give a about this ceasefire. Suck my dick. Then yeah, of course, like, you know, people are going to get mad at Netanyahu.
True. The only hospital which I remember being bombed was by a rocket fired by the Islamic Jihad by mistake. That's as far as I remember. So Israel has raided hospitals. So let me talk.
Israel's raided hospitals. They've never bombed a hospital is an insane thing to say, because they absolutely have bombed the hospitals. They literally bombed the Al Ahli hospital. They're like, oh, it was an Islamic Jihad rocket that he says, right? Again, inconclusive. But let's say he's correct. Inconclusive. But let's say he's correct that it was actually an Islamic Jihad misfire. Israel bombed that hospital 2 days prior to that explosion at the courtyard. Like, they literally bombed Al Ahli hospital, which is so crazy that, like, the idea that, like, Israel has not bombed any hospital is so insane to me. But that specific hospital, Israel literally shelled with artillery fire 2 days prior to the explosion at the courtyard. Like, what the like, even that very specific hospital that he is talking about, Israel openly bombed. It's insane how that's still a narrative that even you were a victim to it. I know, it's crazy. That's how powerful media narratives are, though, because the media immediately went, Israel blew up this hospital again. Holy shit, in the deadliest day in Gaza so far, right? And then they all apologized for it and immediately took Israel's word for it. And then that was over. Everyone was like, oh, I told you so. You're wrong. It's like, there is no proof. All the proof that Israel presented was immediately falsified. Like, immediately. Every single piece of proof that Israel showed was exactly what they've fucking done in the past. Put out correspondence between two Palestinian terrorists being like, oh, we love blowing up our own hospitals. Listen, we are terror children. I am Arab Palestinian. Even though Palestinian is not real, it's not a real thing. We lie to Israel, the most moral army, about it. It's crazy.
Israel has raided hospitals, but with infantry.
Let me ask you this question.
It's found Hamas people in their Hamas headquarters, inside hospitals, under hospitals.
Actually, we've never seen the headquarters that Benjamin Netanyahu put a beautiful Bond movie video out for. We've never actually seen that from underneath Al-Shifa. It's been several months. We're still waiting.
But we only hear the pro-Israel side, not the truth that comes out a week later in most cases. Yeah. In the Western world, like, I get it. You usually don't hear what the actual truth of the matter is. That's precisely the reason why there's, like, still a shit ton of people. That's precisely the reason why there's still a shit ton of people who are like, I don't understand. Isn't, like, Hamas ruining the peace talks? It's like, bro, what do you mean? What do you fucking mean? Israel killed the principal negotiator, the civilian that was heading the Politburo, a diplomat on Iranian soil in the midst of the hostage negotiations that he was partaking in. There is no better display that you don't want the ceasefire to happen, then doing exactly that is so crazy. Like what the wildest part about it is that what more do you want to hear? Do you want Israeli officials to say, we do not want this ceasefire, that's why we're killing the leader of the Politburo? Because they did say that. That's the other part. There is, like, word for word, Benjamin Netanyahu has for the past like 3 months now openly been like, there's no ceasefire. Get the fuck out of here. We're not going to do a ceasefire. You're going to give us the hostages and we're going to keep bombing you. He has said that bar for bar pretty much every day. He said that to Israeli citizens. He said that to anyone that will listen. And America is like, Hamas, man, really this up, dude. Really the ceasefire negotiations up. Bro, Benjamin Netanyahu said it to the hostage families. He said it in Congress. He keeps saying it. He keeps saying, no ceasefire. What the f are these guys talking about? And America is like, no. We're working tirelessly around a ceasefire, and it's Hamas that's ruining the talks. You know? It's crazy. Like, he has telegraphed time and time again that he does not want to ceasefire, and he keeps adding like new protocols, new provisions, all this shit onto the point, onto the conversation that already is like, that is a done deal. And it's wild that Americans are still, by and large, deluded by our media into thinking like, oh, well, I read in the news that it's actually Hamas. Anyway, hey guys, remember, this is the hospital Al-Shifa, which Israel definitely didn't bomb.
We're here in what used to be Shifa Hospital in the north of Gaza and Gaza City. Hospitals should always be...
Hospitals just kind of do that, though, to themselves when they're under great distress, so...
places of safety. Hospitals should always be protected, places of healing. And yet I'm standing around in the midst of utter devastation. Shifa has literally become a graveyard. There are bodies still in this courtyard. The buildings have been completely destroyed.
This is Al-Shifa. This is one of the major hospitals. This is the one. This isn't Al-Ahli. He's talking about Al-Ahli, which is the other hospital that was also, again, that was blown up. This is the major one that's supposed to have a headquarters underneath it. One of the largest hospitals. The largest hospital in Gaza City, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is what they presented it as. This is why they had to do that to it, because hey, we made this like 3D rendering. Remember, chat, remember this is what they said was under the Al-Shifa hospital. You remember that? Oh my god, that hospital that you saw, that bombed out shell of a hospital you saw, it's still in operation, by the way. As of today, Al-Shifa Hospital is set to resume operations in its emergency and accidents departments today. This development is a testament to the exceptional determination and perseverance that Gaza's medical teams exhibited. Because what the fuck are they supposed to do? They have nothing. The hospital was bombed multiple times by Israeli forces in November, severely damaging its infrastructure. It was placed under siege by Israel in mid-November, bombed 5 times in 24 hours, and by November 11th, it was forced out of service. Al-Shifa reopened 3 operations theaters within its surgical unit. These were primarily used for trauma cases. The hospital also maintained essential services, including emergency care, basic laboratory and radiological facilities, post-operative care, and a dialysis unit. Israel stormed the facility again in March, putting it out of service forever, according to its acting chairman. They bombed the fuck out of the hospital. There's like, most of the hospital compound is like a shell, and the rooms that are standing, they're still trying to utilize. The craziest part about it is that Israel uses Palestinian resilience and the perseverance that the Palestinians exhibit every day, surviving against all odds, as a testament that they're like, we're not doing a genocide. Look, see, they still have one of the 8 buildings that isn't completely carved out, and they're still trying to operate out of those buildings. Just like when Palestinians were forced to go to the beach because there was no other place that they could survive, and they would clean themselves up by going into the water. They were like, see, they're having a fun time at the beach. It's not a real genocide. It's crazy. You don't have to kill every single person, dude. You don't have to kill every single person and blow it up. Or you don't have to be like, well, we have the weapons to kill every single person and we're not doing it, so how can you say it's a genocide? Like, that is crazy to me. That is an insane thing to mention. It is sad and ironic that it is the exact same kind of Nazi bullshit that you hear from Holocaust deniers. Oh, the camps had pools in them. How can you say that these guys are being sent to concentration camps? These Jews are being killed in concentration camps. They have pools in them. It's crazy.